لا إله إلا الله. السلام عليكم. عليكم. شو ما يسمى شو. الحمد لله ونستعين ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذه أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون. Again, this to Lord, praise and ask for help us against. We see refuge, protect the people of ourselves, and come to our sins. Whomsoever from us will choose to God to pray that after with misguided. Whomsoever from us will choose to misguide and will guide the truth. The Bible said that there's no deity, no object of worship, the lost one Ta'ala. One of them be part of the associate equals. The Bible said Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his final servant message. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'm honored once again to be back here, amongst the Islamic Brotherhood, in this honored space in Harlem. Imam Talibuddeen reminds the village of Harlem. And I'm honored to be able to speak before the brothers and sisters of the community as a student of Islam and a student of Imam Talibuddeen, who's a student of Yahya Abdul Karim, as well as my teacher and sheikh and mentor, Imam Talibuddeen Rashid, who's a student of Sheikh Allama Tawfiq. And I mention those names because they are part and parcel of what we're going to talk about today, brothers and sisters. And that is the idea of not only building community, but the power of brotherhood and sisterhood in building the community. I mentioned I came from Surah 21, ayat 92. That's when I read, truly, in the English translation, truly, this your ummah is one, and I am your Lord, therefore worship me. So I want to talk and remind myself, brothers and sisters, about the importance and the power of a brotherhood and a sisterhood in our ummah, in building community. And as I do that, I want to go back a couple of weeks, if you permit me to do so. I was, first and foremost, I'm always honored to be here because when I was just a youngster in 1988, thinking I was into hip hop and all that stuff, MIB was out there on Front Street getting busy. When I was a little older in the 90s, getting my lessons in mathematics, MIB was getting busy. And even in the 2000s, uh, when I come into the fold of Islam, and MIB was on the ground establishing what will be the most recent inauguration of the 110th Street of Elijah Malik Shabazz train station. I was just entering into the fold of this work. So I always want to acknowledge the work that has come before me and the elders who laid that groundwork. And in doing so, I want to acknowledge also a place that I came from a couple weeks ago. A few brothers might have been there, sisters might have been there as well. I had the opportunity to go celebrate in Philadelphia the 50th anniversary of the Imam Talibuddeen Muhammad community, and them celebrating their coming into the fold of Islam. And in Philly, because I got a lot of family in Philly, so it was a little, it's easy to go down there and chop it up. But my intention was really to be amongst the people and learn. I'm not from that community at the fellows, even though I was studying with people who studied with those people who studied with those. So I went down to just to catch a glimpse of what that tradition, what that story, what those experiences were. And I'm saying that to say one of the primary things I left there with, and I want to use this in talking about brotherhood and sisterhood. One of the primary things I left there with is their insistence and their dedication to self-sufficiency and doing for self. That they got obviously from traditions before that. If I don't mention that, then I'm not a true brother. In other words, if I don't acknowledge the piece of the pie, today we're going to talk about this pie. And this pie that I want to present to you all is a pie that is filled by multiple groups. When the pie is not acknowledged, parts of it are left empty. When we leave that pie empty, we abdicate. I'm going to talk to black folks today and about black folks from the country. I'll include you, and we'll see how I'll include you. I'll include you when it comes to 1965, the Immigration Act. Black folks worked so tirelessly to get it, but not only themselves in terms of fair rights in this country, but to allow others to come over here and to be a part of this experience within Islam that was built centuries back. But I'm down here in Philly, and I'm just enjoying, the community catching with each other, so on and so forth, and build with each other, and selling their wares outside and listening. So I got there Friday night, and Talibuddeen Muhammad's leader's daughter, later, said something else tactfully. And she said, while their teachings might not have centered on the Aqidah that we know today, their teachings initially were about and dedicated to their mind and to their thinking and to their psychology. And I can resonate with that. We should all resonate with that. And I'll tell you why. Anyone who goes and studies abroad and studies overseas, alhamdulillah, that's a beautiful thing here to go study abroad. But nowadays, study online here or study masters in the United States or less. Anyone who takes themselves overseas and forgets themselves in a struggle. So I can understand that initial message of working on the self and the mind first. That was not necessarily their expertise in terms of the Aqidah that my understanding that community has grown to understand more and more about the Aqidah, and now those traditions are well taught in those particular spaces. But there's really an important lesson that I took from that. When one focuses ourselves on the mind, and I'll give you an example from the Quran. In the Qur'an, every Friday when someone, for example, when I read Ataqullah, Qawlu Qawlan Sadida, if I'm reading that and translating it in English, that reads as have taqwa of Allah, be mindful of Allah, have my mind, have my psychology centered around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this case, the best of that of his names and attributes. If my mind is centered around those best things, those those best names of Allah, then my speech, will be relative to that and it will be upright. So my mind leads to that which I'll say, then follows my mind leads to that which I will say. That which I have said and thought about will lead to my actions, and then surround me around people who are also consistent with those actions. So whatever I'm thinking, I'm going to say. Whatever I say, because of what I've thought about, I'm going to do. That kind of social psychology that community was deeply immersed in, one has to appreciate unapologetic. Because if I enter into the fold of Islam without a deep psychology of who I am as a person, and in this case, forgive me, immigrants from over here, as a black man, and not recognizing my experiences, our experiences, and then couple that with experience, our collective experience. For my brother now, from not this pie, our collective experiences as black folk in this country. I'm doing myself a disservice. We're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're relinquishing our. I want to talk today about the power of brotherhood and what I gleaned and what I took from that experience, which was a powerful experience a couple of weekends ago in Philadelphia. And this is and you have scholars like the good brother, not Dr. Naeem, I was giving out respect on that name, Dr. Naeem Akbar, who reminds us of the deep psychological effects of our experience in this wilderness of North America. And I told you folks who are from different countries, I won't leave you out. It also includes your experiences in being colonized possessors. Don't think because you're over here, you were never colonized possessors. I'm gonna get a little funky, so if you don't want to write it back, say. But it's not just us who had 400 plus years of an oppressive foot on our neck. In your own nations, you have the British or the French or the Portuguese taking your resources, giving you a new language, teaching you cricket, so on and so forth. So I'm going to include you in that as well, whether you want to be included or not. So that's why it's imperative, which is to have a deep focus on our mind. And how do we have that deep focus on our minds? Knowing our culture, knowing our history, also knowing the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His rahmah, and His forgiveness, and His ghafara, and His mercy, and His openings, and His fatah, and His provision, and His list. Having a deep understanding and how it connects to our experience. I can appreciate Imam Talibuddeen Ashanti's community for doing something as that. And it's one manner in which they have contributed deeply to this pie that I want to talk about. And I know, keeping it funky, there's been some tension between communities of the past. That's because if I can't be honest with you, then I can't be your brother. Right? So there's been tension in the past. I think I'm young now, I don't know about that. Between different communities, based upon our faith or lack thereof, or something, so on and so forth. There's tension between groups that are coming into the United States or the West and so on, with embedded in Muslims for hundreds of years, between lack thereof or what they perceive us as having our faith and so on and so forth. Tension. When you let that tension persist, we relinquish, we vacate. So I want to talk once again, brothers and sisters, as an introduction. That acts as an introduction in terms of the theme I want to get into, in terms of building a community and the power of brotherhood and sisterhood. I want to go and give a hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu. When the Prophet Sallallahu came to Al Medina, the people rushed to meet him. And it was said, the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu has come. The Messenger of Allah Sallallahu has come. The messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has come 3 times. I came with the people to see him. This is Abdullah ibn Salam. And when I saw his face clearly, I knew his face was not that of a liar. The first thing I heard him say was when he said, Shu salam. Ya ayyuhan nas, Ashu salam. Oh people in Medina. Talking to everybody. Talking to that whole pod. Old people of Medina. Ashu salam, spread peace. What came there? So the first thing he mentions, Prophet Muhammad Islam, is the first thing he mentions when he comes to a new space, comes to this new land of different people that can make up the constitution of this pod. It is salam. And not just the giving of salam, but go spread salam. Then what there follows is he says, uphold, feed others. So what is the next thing? The material needs of the community. What I can appreciate about the BROTHERHOod Muhammad community is that they were deeply concerned about the community, as is Masjid al-Islam, as was Masjid al-Dawah, as all those communities, deeply concerned. But I want to talk about Imam Talibuddeen because there's a tension. I don't feel comfortable not mentioning the tension. I want to put the elephant in the room. So after spreading salam and then feeding people, then he said, uphold ties of kinship. So Islam said, uphold ties of kinship and pray during the night when people are asleep. And you will enter paradise with salam. These are things we can do. The Prophet was his first injunction to the people of Medina, which also means it's an injunction to us. Spread the peace, feed people, meaning help support them in their material needs. And not just help support others externally, help support oneself, self-sufficiency internally. When I think about the Imam Talibuddeen community, I think about what they came out of in the do for self model. So I have to acknowledge that because they are part of this community of Muslims of African descent in this wilderness of North America. Whether some want to acknowledge it or not, the Al-Qaeda's off and all this other stuff, I heard it. I'm blind, not deaf, nor am I dumb. I also understand where someone plays a part and a role, and I'm willing to acknowledge it. If someone chooses not to do that, it's your business. I'm coming to you, I'm submitting to you in this pot that Master Muslim Brotherhood is also a part of. All these other communities are also part of. I'm going to submit to you all a community that is deeply embedded in the do for self. So when we talk about that pie, and the part of that pie having a self-sustaining model, that community locked it. 100%. Like it or not, acknowledge it or not, they locked it down. Other communities, such as the Muslim Islamic Brotherhood and the historic nature that it serves, took the role of following in Hajj Malik Shabaz's footsteps and making sure that not only do we have, not just you all, but we all have an Islamic center, a center in Islam, but also making sure that our African American traditions and nationhood were upheld as well in terms of national, and in terms of loving ourselves as well. With groups like the Darul Islam movement, led by Imam Yahya Abdul Karim. Their role was to build community not only in Brooklyn, but also nationwide as well. Filling a role now trying to bring more of the traditional deen in, however they saw it in that time period, the late 50s, 60s, and 70s, how they were given, being mindful of the turbulent times that were. So you didn't have just this fusion of just deen and kind of spirituality. There was a fusion of some things going on in the streets that people have to address, infusing self-determination with Islam. So I can understand all these different groups, the Imam Talibuddeen community, the Muslim Islamic Brotherhood community led by Imam Sheikh Alawat Tawfiq, the community of the Dar Islam movement, led by Imam Yaqi Abdul Karim, all those people filling a piece of the pie now to be taken on. When we just disregard the pie, not only are we disregarding our brothers and sisters who played a role in this thing we call brotherhood and sisterhood, we're also diminishing the pie, which diminishes the power. I want to bring forth to us all, brothers and sisters, what are the elements to brotherhood and sisterhood? And part of those elements are acknowledging the pie that is, who played a role, who played their positions in that pie. And they played that position well and not overstepping any bounds. Listen, this is what we did, and we did it to the fullest. This is what we did, and we did it to the fullest. This is what we did, and did it to the fullest. Anytime we just negate what people did because of some schisms and tension, we're relinquishing our power. Not just then did we relinquish our power. I mean right now, when we don't acknowledge that history. I'm here, and I went down to Philly, not to see my folks, my peoples down there, but also to document and to bring and to make sure that I remember. And anybody who I can tell who will invite me to it, because I did this folk by the last year last week, so so they got it. And we was on Facebook, so I'm glad it was on Facebook and let it here, so anybody who's online can and spread it. And I'm telling you how it is from my perspective. And I'm thankful that I'm here. I could have given a little football. I could have flipped one of the things I would have some things ready to go. But I chose to extend this conversation because what we're lacking is keep it bucket open. It's a brother, sister. And I'm not talking about individual communities, like a mosque and Islamic brother. That's beautiful if the Imam Talibuddeen community, which is kind of a, insular community, it's beautiful that that group has done well and done some things and locked in certain models. It's beautiful as everybody is locked in certain models. Now, how to bring all those different things together to enjoy the flourishing of that pie. It's beautiful some immigrant communities have come in, they have a linguistic background to support. That's the role you may play. As well as learning the context of where you live. Don't think because you just came here, you can't understand and learn the context of what I'm talking, what has been. That is an injunction upon you to know your environment. If I come to Egypt, if I go to Pakistan, I have to know what the steps I'm walking. Not because to appeal to somebody else, because I need to know the steps I'm walking. When I go to synagogue, I need to know what the importance of Torah. So I want to talk once again, brothers. I'm gonna make it quick. I started, that was my fault. I'll be quick. Some qualities of brotherhood and sisterhood. And first and foremost, one of the major quality is truthfulness and trustworthiness. Truthfulness, and just why I can come today without any hesitation. This is the truth that I have seen. I'm willing to articulate that to anybody who will listen about this pod and who plays a part in a position, a role in that. If one chooses not to acknowledge that because of some tension that something they're holding on to, I'm sorry for that. But my obligation is to make sure that anybody who's around can understand that this pie and the communities that have played a role in this pie are real, is real. And if we don't manifest that in truthfulness in terms of who played a role, they did that. Who played a role, they did that and are still doing it. And I do myself a disservice, I do you a disservice, we do ourselves a disservice by relinquishing that power. Now we have some angles to come. Anybody's got to go to play now. When that pie is filled, you have all angles filled in terms of a do for self model, in terms of an aqidah model, in terms of a linguistic model, in terms of a fiqh model, and grace in terms of a cultural model. You can't just relinquish our culture. I includes all those things, all those social cycle dimensions, economic and social dimensions, political dimensions, theological dimensions. Their pi is inclusive of all those things. And when we're relinquishing, because we got some tension, we got some beef with some other community that we hold on to for 40 years, we're relinquishing our power. Truthfulness and trustworthiness. Persistence is a quality of the community of brothers and sisters. And Surah Hood, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, be steadfast, just as you have been commanded, and who has turned to Allah with you. And do not overstep the bounds. Indeed, He sees the best of what you do. So our job is to be steadfast. But what are we steadfast in? Are we steadfast in division? Are we steadfast in holding on to some stuff? Or are we steadfast in thinking about what role have all these communities played then and now? Legacy. The legacy. History is not just something you dealt with in the past, it's a precedent for action. When you go to a doctor does what? They take a history. But the doctor can't move forward without knowing what's going on, what's happened. So the doctor must take a history. So we must take a history in terms of what's going on so we can move forward. History is a precedent. And how are we persistent in tension and schisms? Or are we going to be persistent in seeking this history, and seeking this truth, and seeking the fulfillment of this power, the circle? The Prophet Muhammad said regarding this surah, in Surah Hood, he said, the chapter Hood made my hair turn gray. It was because of this command to remain persistent along with his followers. He realized what the chore that would be. To remain persistent. That's part of what you have. That's part of what you have a lot. To remain persistent, to be in truthfulness, to relinquish those tensions so we can fulfill the power. Another element of brotherhood and sisterhood is found in this right direction. And so at the bottom of Ayah 142, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in English translation, foolish among the people will say, what has turned them away from the Qibla? They will follow it. Say, to Allah belong the east and west. He guides whomever He wishes to a straight path. There's a tension. Some will say, well, what's guiding them? They ain't got the right idea. They ain't got the right direction. Get them. This is persistence of division. Forget them. Even though we're all Muslims, forget them. Even though we're all in the same community, forget them. I can say another word. Which direction will we follow? What helps to maintain brothers and sisters is an idea of balance and moderation. Surah Al-Baqarah reads in Surah Al-Baqarah ayah 423, we have made you a middle nation that you may be witness to the people, and the people, and the messenger be a witness to you. Our job is to witness over the people and witness how we can, what we've been given, and give back to that people. These are elements of brotherhood and sisterhood. The Prophet said a Muslim is a brother/sister of other Muslims. He or she never oppresses them. He or she never abandons them. She never leaves them alone in facing their calamities. We leave each other alone, brothers and sisters, when we allow the tension and the beef to fester for decades. A lot of times because of ego. I'm just going to say. Sorry. A lot of times because of ego. Well, Quran says in Surah Hujurat, ayat 10, the believers are each other's brothers and sisters. Restore peace among your brothers and sisters. And have taqwa of Allah, have fear of Allah, and be mindful of Allah so that perhaps you will receive. Prophet said a believer to another believer is like a building. Here's the thing right here. It's like a building whose different parts support each other. This is going to give you an analogy of the circle, and can also be the analogy of the Prophet Muhammad gave of this building. And in the construction of a building, there's different facets, different components, all working in concert with one another to make this building this thing and make it stand for a long duration. when we disacknowledge or not acknowledge the different elements of the building can't stand. Everyone has played a part in the building of Islam in this wilderness of North America, in this Western world. What are the roles that different communities have played? What are the roles that Imam Talibuddeen community have played? And the new ideas played? Like the National Taqwa has played, the Darul Islam movement have played, Sheikh Mahmoud Faisal have played. These are people who are foundational pillars in the mid 20th century. Not the first because we know some others, because there were others who came who were kidnapped and extracted from West Africa, who began to plant those seeds of Islam now, but they were beaten, raped, and tortured out of us. All we can find is what they call chicken scratch on walls and artifacts. So we have to figure out how to work together and bring it back in collection and brotherhood. So, brothers and sisters, I submit to you, do not allow our power to be relinquished. Do not allow this circle to not be fulfilled because I am not in the fulfilling of the brotherhood and sisterhood of one another. Stop holding that. اللهم إني أسألك سيدنا محمد الحبيب صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم. We're going to close, inshallah. I want us to just remind and reinforce the power of brotherhood and sisterhood. Brother and sister not just being reduced to one single message or a few messages, but I want to make sure we extend, and I extend the message of those who came before me, and make sure that you know, that I know, that you know, that I see what has come before me. And I'm going to take every opportunity, not just among my people, but those who have come to this country and choose either not to see or disacknowledge it. That is my life. So whenever you give me a mic, like I said, I come from the hip hop industry, giving a mic is not an issue. I know I hold mic, folks. You choose to give me a mic, you're going to get it. And because the brotherhood and sisterhood is steeped, has to be steeped in love, has to be steeped in truthfulness and honesty, has to be steeped, and this is first and foremost with lowering the ego. Lowering the ego. Lowering the ego. I don't have to have my name in right. What part do I play for the betterment of the soul, the infinite soul? What part do I play in the construction of this and play in building of the yes? Part in more my cement, my the sheetrock, what have you, my wandering those through. What part do we play and has the communities in this part of the world played in the building of Islam? What's right now? So I want to say in closing, still get to your name, brothers and sisters. And why do I say that to close? Because this idea of faking your name is a deep psychological concept. It's not about being fake. It's a deep psychological concept. Once again, you can appreciate what Imam Talibuddeen offered into that power in terms of building one's mind. And that mind has to be centered on things that I can't even see. Fake it to your thinking literally means in a psychosocial phenomenon, literally means Imagine you see something or experience something that's not even there. But like a one with a child's heart or a child even, they pretend as astronauts and space agents and all this other stuff. And we're the ones who discourage them from being it and take that dream away. So I'm arguing, brothers and sisters, to get back to that imagination of fake it till you make it and believe in what you don't even see. This is the definition behind it. To believe in what I don't even physically see, but I believe Allah subhanahu will provide. I believe Al-Razak will provide. I believe Al-Fatah will open the way towards that. But when the authority of Hamza, and I said, Malik, radiallahu anhu, may Allah please them. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that none of you will believe until you love for your brother, what you love for yourself. So the question I ask myself, first and foremost, and I ask you by extension, what do you want for yourself? What do you love for yourself? Because how can I love and want for my brother if I don't even know or want what I love for my own self? So I can't just do the theory stuff. I can't just recite and expound upon a hadith, without deeply internalizing what it means. What do I want for myself? What's in my mind? It's thinking, perpetuating, and filling my mind. And that's all I want for myself, so I'm going to naturally extend it out to others by my conversation. I don't have a deep love for myself, and I'm going to extend it out to my brothers and my sisters. I want the best for you because I want the best for myself. I want to keep making that actually is. I want you to be in that office as that CEO. So what I want you to do, I want you to fake it till you make it. I want you to go down to the office and go up to the 31st floor and sit in that chair for real. Don't get arrested now. And sit in that chair and act like you're the CEO. Or if that's what your game is, if that's what you're into. If you're into cars, I want you to go to that dealership, caddy or whatever you're into, and go sit and go say, I want to ride, and go sit in that car like you want that, like that's your car. If you want to be a scholar, I want you to go and sit before somebody and act as if you're that until it comes to you. Fake it to your neighbor. So in other words, I got to know what I want for myself, love within myself, before I can even articulate this idea. Or I can just say stuff. Sometimes I'm just saying stuff without saying stuff. So, brothers and sisters, I want us to think about what the Prophet Muhammad said. So, Islam, he also says, actions are judged according to intentions, and everyone will get what he's intended. So, what have I intended for myself? There's a powerful book out right now. It's been out for a while. It's called The Power of Intention. The non-Muslims know what we have. Written by a man named Dr. Wayne Dye. Non-Muslim, Buddhist, probably something like that. But they understand the power of tension, the power of gratitude, shukr. They understand. They write books and going the world towards a whole different thing. We got it right in our midst. Shukr. It's powerful. Lay down an intention and mean it and follow us in action and start talking about it. Watch what happens. Take it to you. Even if it's not there, even if my circumstances say 180 degrees different, fake it till you make it. Imagine it's there. Start talking about it. Have an intention in the heart. Have an intention on the tongue. Have an intention on the mind. Call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the names that will help to make this come to fruition. Fake it till you make it. And that includes all the different things that we have to fulfill in our community. So we have different roles we all need to play. Just like that circle that the Imam Talibuddeen community, the Imam Sheikh Alam Tawfiq played, Sheikh Yahya Abdul Kareem, Sheikh Dawood Faisal, all the different people in communities who have played a role in that pie. We have other roles we play, people in medicine, people in education, people in academics, people in the government, people in medicine. What part do we play in the pie? Don't just exclude us and because then we have attention because they're doing this and they're not doing this. But you're good. Whatever you have an intention to do, go do it. Fulfill this pie, fulfill this building, so we can really fulfill this brotherhood. And we can stop with attention, lower the ego, so we can continue to get busy. Because there's no community on earth that's experienced what we experience. Let's embrace and empower ourselves with that, and not relinquish the power that has come. that has been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I close, brothers and sisters, and I ask us, and we continue to support us in each other in building community and building brotherhood and sisterhood. And I ask that may Allah increase the sincerity in building brotherhood. I ask Allah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in being truthful in building brotherhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in nur. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may increase in confidence in ourselves as we increase brotherhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in confidence in ourselves and increase in brotherhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in well-being and salam so we increase our brotherhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in persistence that we increase our brotherhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in reflecting upon our skills, our interests, our business, so we fulfill that pie, so we edify that building. I ask Allah to increase in balancing being an individual and being a collective, so we can increase that brotherhood. Because what I bring as an individual helps the brotherhood and the sisterhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase in our involvement in the community, not just an individual community, but the larger community, so that pie is fulfilled. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in brotherhood and sisterhood. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah and having good in this life as well as the good after, so we may seek the greatest part of the Jannah to Firdaus. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. استغفر الله واتوب إليه.
Stay still. Stay sitting.
Assalamu alaikum. We thank Allah for today's khutbah given by our guest Khatib, Imam Talibuddeen Ashanti from Master Support in the Bronx. May Allah reward him. Ameen. We pray for the sick and suffering in our congregation throughout the country and world. We thank Allah for today's continued healing and recovery of our senior Imam, El-Haj Dr. Talib Abdul Rashid, who is still on modified medical leave. Please keep him in your du'as. Ameen. We also continue to make dua for Brother Mansour Najiullah, Dawood Suleiman, and Tahir Naz, and Sister Aisha Ahmed and Taliba Reed, and all members of the MIB congregation and family in healthcare facilities and at home. Ameen. Further, may Allah heal and sustain the sick and starving people of Gaza and Darfur in the Sudan. Comfort them and their families and give them relief. Ameen. On Saturday, August 30th, we invite you to attend the end of the summer events, inshallah. Right here on the same block of the masjid, there will be a health street fair from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with tests and activities, and both free food and back-to-school giveaways for children. Brothers and sisters who would like to volunteer to work that day, please see Brother Ali Abdul Rashid. Also, the third annual Military Islamia barbecue will take place at the Roberto Clemente Park in the Bronx on that same day, beginning at 12 noon. Now, please give your attention to our associate imam, Brother Mikael, I believe, the role for his announcement.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, inshallah, I invite you up here first. Thank those that have been contributing financially to the Master Islamic Brotherhood. We want to thank the Khatib, inshallah, for his message today, and it resonates with some of the conversations that we've been having at Fajr. Only a select number of men come to Fajr to make prayer in the morning, but following Fajr on Saturday morning, we have a discussion. And among the things we've been talking about, as he emphasized in terms of context, was a book that was written by the founder of Imam Sheikh Allama Tawfiq about the black men in Islam. We had extensive discussion regarding that. And currently we have a discussion regarding a book that was written by Hassan Albani, Method of Education and Guidance, which also provides some context for the development of Islam in not only Egypt, but the United States and around the world. Among the things we've been emphasizing, as you know, that the Quran is our constitution, and that the Prophet Muhammad is our model and our guide. As you think of the Master Islamic Brotherhood, what we are trying to do is facilitate an understanding for us to reconceptualize ourselves as members of the global Islamic community. Think of the Master Islamic Brotherhood as a place that facilitates the individual and collective responsibility to fulfill our duties as Muslims. make that point because I noticed that a lot of us have not paid our zakat. Zakat is one of the pillars of Islam. Inshallah, it should not be neglected. Please pay your zakat. We're also facilitating an opportunity for people to make umrah. Umrah during Ramadan counts as a hajj. We know many of us that have took 2-3 years trying to make hajj that is getting more and more and more difficult. And the cost during the hajj season is 5 times as much as what is listed here. Inshallah, if you intend to fulfill your responsibility, this is an opportunity. We're also offering an opportunity for fulfilling the mission. This is what we're doing. The Muslim Islamic Brotherhood is an Islamic institution. Even though we're having this health fair, the health fair is an opportunity for us to give dawah. We utilize every mechanism that we can to give dawah, to call the people, to invite the people to the way of Islam, to enjoin what is right and to forbid what is wrong. The Lati al-Islam is the same thing, even though they have a little barbecue. I'm sure they're gonna have something out there that invites the people to Islam. So inshallah, think of the Muslim Brotherhood as just an outpost, you know what I mean, a station, masjid along the way, so that each and every one of us that comes in contact with the Muslim Brotherhood can fulfill our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I encourage you to give journeys to the Sadaqah, because we utilize these funds that we raise here, not only to pay the rent, not only to pay the electricity, not only to pay the heat, but inshallah to give dawah, to call people to Islam, because that also is our duty. But as always has been said, we're also defenders of the faith. You can't defend what you don't know. That's why we invite people to come to the classes, inshallah, so we can have some discussions and learn to think like Muslims. We haven't been socialized to be Muslims. We haven't been taught to be Muslim. We got to learn how to be Muslim. So inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala reward those that give 1,000, for, I usually say 1,000, what you have given. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
So once again, brothers and sisters, please give your generous sadaqah donations now to those that are collecting at the masjid. And for those of you online, please text the word give, that's GIVE, to 347-973-4352. And lastly, for you at home, we encourage you now to pray Salat al-Dhuhr there as we pray Salat al-Jummah here at the masjid. And may Allah accept our worship. Ameen. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. يشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, act like we on Hajj today, bro.